It's raining cats and dogs, frogs and toads, and in one case, buckets of meat. Welcome back, everyone. Here today we're going to look at the Kentucky meat shower, an alleged bizarre event that occurred in 1876. Imagine it's a normal day. You step outside, take in the fresh air, and then suddenly you're pelted with buckets of meat. It sounds crazy, but that's what happened one day in Kentucky all those years ago. The year was 1876 and the place was, well, Kentucky. It's not entirely clear where in Kentucky or how far into the year this happened, as the original reports are somewhat lacking in specifics. What is clear, however, is that people were doing their everyday thing, when suddenly they started getting hit by buckets of meat. The first report of this bizarre occurrence comes from the January 1876 edition of the Shelbyville Weekly News. According to the paper, people were out and about when they began to notice something strange in the sky, dark objects falling from the clouds. At first, these objects were mistaken for something else. The falling objects were too large to be hail, yet they weren't raining at a typical angle, they just sort of fell straight down. People shielded their heads and tried to move indoors. But the more they dodged, the more it seemed the objects were targeting them. As it turned out, these objects were made of meat. Yes, buckets of meat were raining down from the sky. People ran and hid as best they could, but some were struck and injured by the falling buckets. Imagine getting hit in the head with a bucket of meat. How would you even defend yourself against that? One man named J. Smith tried to take cover under a buggy, but according to the report, the meat fell in such a dense mass that he was completely overwhelmed. Eventually, the rain of meat came to an end. Those who ventured outside to investigate found hundreds of buckets of meat on the ground, all apparently manufactured from the same materials. The meat was packed tightly in the buckets and wrapped in linen cloth. Some of the buckets had handles while others did not. Those that did have handles were fashioned with stout wire bale hoops. Each bucket was filled to the brim with chunks of meaty substance. In total, there were 8 buckets, each weighing around 35 pounds. A local newspaper at the time attempted to explain the phenomenon. According to Professor A.T. Gautier, the buckets were most likely dislodged from a train car and subsequently dropped by a crane. He believed that the buckets were part of a shipment of canned goods that were being moved to a different transport. However, this explanation didn't sit well with everyone. Some believed that the meat wasn't actually from Earth at all, but from outer space. Was it an alien food package? Who knows? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.